been heading towards a recession for the last decade.
I know. God damn, Rose, this one might be the big one.
Lord Jesus, I mean, we might be heading towards a depression.
I'm already there.
Oh my.
Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our SaVeg take on just about everything.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode
Of the SaVeg podcast.
Yes.
So Daniel just got back from Hawaii.
I did.
From Klarna.
Kona.
Are we talking about this, or are you ashamed because you shouldn't have visited the United States of America?
I was on the fence, guys. Okay, hear me out on this one, okay?
We talked about it earlier.
Yeah, we might have. I can't remember. But I was definitely on the fence, and I talked to my friend that we were going, and we were like, talked about it a little bit, and like, her family has like a property there. That's part of the reason we were going, because it was like free accommodation, and like, you know, it makes it a little bit easier. Anyway, long story short, we had everything booked. We had everything paid for. So we're like, you know what, we're going to go. But that being said, now I'll go on a go forward basis. I'm planning 0 trips to the US.
Oh, goddamn.
Are
you sure it's not because it's too expensive?
Well, there's that too. Because the Canadian dollar is fucking shit. I was just telling Rose in Klarna, me and my friend went to a coffee shop, and we got 2 lattes, guys, a bagel and a croissant. Okay. That's 4 little items. 42 Canadian dollars.
That's insanity.
I was like, I almost threw up in my mouth when I saw that. I was like,
2
fuck.
lattes, a bagel, and a croissant.
Yeah.
I guessed it would be 25.
Yeah.
And I don't know what world I was living in.
No, because if you think about it, you start to do the math. You're like, okay, each of the lattes were like $8 or $9 US.
I think my problem. That's disgusting. I think my problem is when you said coffee, because you said coffees. You said 2 coffees.
So you're thinking Americano.
So I didn't think lattes, but then I remember that you drink lattes.
Exactly.
This is the problem, Daniel. You need to start drinking the Americanos or like just the black coffees.
I'm gonna have to switch because my bank account can't afford it.
Well, because a latte is like $7.
I know, and try like $8 US. So I think I'm pretty sure the coffees were like 8. Everything was like 8. Maybe US.
Hawaii is like extra expensive. I think
Yeah.
it's like the most expensive state in the States because it's like a fucking island, right? They have to like ship everything there.
Yeah. But I heard there's a lot of problems because of that, because like the local
so many
people are
problems.
like not being able to afford life there at all.
Hawaii is a very controversial place to visit because it's so beautiful and it's so nice and I love it. But at the same time, it's like some people are against the idea of going because a lot of locals are like, you're fucking ruining Hawaii. But at the same time, it's like one of those kind of sad, like, I don't know what's the right answer because now it's kind of like they've turned the state into this like tourist destination.
Yep.
They've kind of fucked over life for the locals already.
Yeah.
So then it's like they rely on tourism to live, but then at the same time, if tourism never started to begin with and it was never colonized to begin with,
they might be better off.
they would have been better off probably.
Yeah. Well, and I think to myself with it, like with Hawaii, like you could tell it's like, tourism is like the big thing there. I mean, it's so beautiful there, like insanely beautiful. One of the most beautiful places I've been to in the world.
Oh, goddamn.
Because it was like, we drove all over the island, and it's insane how they have so many different like microclimates. 1 minute you're in the desert, next you're in a rainforest, all on the same island. You're like,
big
where
island.
are
You went to Big Island.
Yeah. So, and also the wildlife. Like it was insane to see all the wildlife. But I have to say, like, it did make me feel uneasy being there, and like all the US people that were there, because it was a lot of Americans. They were like
so many Americans.
They're really nice and stuff.
It is America technically.
Exactly, yeah. So like we met a lot of people that were like there from like Texas or all these other places, and you know, initially I was like a bit nervous to be like, oh, I'm visiting from Canada, you know, because like
why?
Because there's all the like tension.
Yeah, but
right?
the American people themselves, I don't think they like hate Canadians.
Yeah, I don't think they do
it's
either.
The Canadians that are like hating because Trump's trying to buy or take Canada.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is, right, so states, especially like Hawaii, I know Florida's another one, but like Hawaii, they actually do get a lot of Canadian tourists, and they're suffering right now, like because, you know, there's like way less people going to Hawaii, like Canadians.
Oh yeah? Like, do they say that they notice a difference? Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, like they were like the tourism numbers have dropped. And I was like reading this thing and I can't remember what it was, but like all the border crossings from like Canada into the US like have been super like low. And there was one town somewhere close to BC, I want to say it was like a US town that like they were saying, this was in this like TikTok. It was like the mayor of the town was like 70% of our tourism is from Canadians crossing the border.
Right.
And he was like, without this, like all of these small businesses are gonna shut down. Like the town's gonna really suffer. And he's like putting a petition out to like plead to Canadians to be like, you know, please come. But then at the same time, I'm like, part of the reason that we're doing this is because of the idiot you have running your country. Like we're not going there to punish you guys we're not
going there. Yeah.
We're sending a message, and the message should be, don't petition us, petition your government.
Yeah, totally.
Like that's where the problem lies. Like, you know what? I feel like I speak on behalf of a lot of Canadians. I feel like if Trump was all of a sudden like impeached and you guys got somebody new, that was like, let's rebuild the relationship with Canada and everything else, things would change.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's nothing like personal to the US people.
Yeah.
I think at this point, it's very much like, it's about, what Trump's doing. And it's kind of like, you know, what's the word? It's like a boycott, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think what's interesting is I don't know if Trump and his team, because obviously it's not just Trump making these decisions, right? He's like the figurehead alongside other people. But like, I don't think his team fully appreciated. I think that and I could be wrong, but I think that they thought because they're the US, they're the largest economy, that they would start putting out all these demands and countries would just bow down and be like, yep, no worries. I don't think they fully thought of the repercussions. And this whole tourism thing, like for the US, and obviously the tourism is not like their biggest industry or whatever, but like it is seriously having big impacts.
Yeah, you know? Because the thing is, Canada, like a lot of Canadians go to the US for a vacation because it's the closest thing for us. Okay. And it's like the closest thing that's warm. So it makes the most sense. I do think some of it has to do with the exchange rate and how bad it is right now. So I don't fucking know.
Yeah. I think it's in a mixture of things, right? It's the exchange rate, but also it's like, I've seen so many people, TikToks and everything else of being like, you know, we were going to have a US vacation. We're actually going to like Europe now, or we're going to like somewhere else. And I think there's a lot of discussions happening with governments outside of the US to start to make like, you know, more trade deals and things like that. So I think, honestly, I think the US is pissing off a lot of people, not the US people, but your US government.
The government, yeah.
And it's not just the countries, but also think of the companies as well. So much fucking uncertainty. One day there's tariffs, one day there's not. One day there's this, one day there's not. And I think, you know, we're seeing that in the stock market as well. And like, it's not doing well.
It's not doing well.
No, it's like they say that they're heading towards a recession.
Oh, we've been heading towards a recession for the last decade.
I know. God damn, Rose, this one might be the big one.
Lord Jesus, I mean, we might be heading towards a depression.
I'm already there.
Oh my God.
Just kidding, guys.
All right, you guys. So before we jump into it, make sure you join us as a member. If you would like bonus content, ad-free content, early access to new videos, join us as a member on either patreon.com/The SaVeg Podcast, or on YouTube. So depending on your favorite platform.
Yes.
Shall we jump in?
Let's jump in. Rose has got some lovely stories for us today. Oh no,
it's not so lovely. So 2025 World Happiness Report has been
released,
published. Yes. And apparently Canadians, I mean, this honestly doesn't surprise me that much, which is kind of sad, but we have dropped. Okay. So apparently last year, we were at the 15th, 15th happiest country in the world.
Okay.
Which is not bad. Okay.
Yeah, considering there is a lot of countries out there.
There are many countries out there.
Yeah.
But apparently 10 years ago in 2015, Canada had placed 5th.
That's insane.
What the actual fuck is going on? I didn't actually see that part. So now we have dropped to the 18th. So in 10 years, we went from 5th happiest country in the world to 18th, which is very...
Does it say why
that's
we dropped?
Quite concerning. Well, I think we can probably... guess.
Yeah, I'm guessing cost of living. I'm guessing housing prices. Apparently, we're one of the largest losers.
That's really fucking depressing. So, yeah, because like for the longest time, it was like, you know, Canadians are happy people. We're a great country, great social safety net, great this. Like we have less income inequality, we have less corruption, like all of these things.
Yeah.
And maybe like, no, we've just gotten worse for sure.
Yeah.
So it says here, at its peak in the 2015 report, Canada had placed 5th. Now 18th. We are at 18th. Canada has dropped to its lowest ever position since the polling began in 2005. And the U.S. has also dropped to its lowest ever position at 24th.
Wow.
Having previously peaked at 11th place in 2012.
Okay.
The UK fell to 23rd.
So the interesting thing, okay, well, it's saying Finland came out on top. You know, the interesting thing with this is I feel like, and it's interesting because I literally watched a TikTok about this the other day, and it was more about the US, but I think it was also talking about like Western countries in general.
Yes.
Now, what happened was we went through this period of like insane growth, like all of this like positive things that like, you know, improved our quality of life and everything else. And then we've kind of hit this, I don't want to even say plateau, but like
kind of.
Yeah, we've hit a plateau, but not even a plateau. We're starting to go the other way, right?
Yes.
So cost of living is going up, wages aren't going up. You know, all of these things are happening. Companies are making decisions to like lower, you know, expenses, and you know, we're getting into that late stage capitalism era for the Western nations where we're seeing the growth and development is now in the quote unquote developing nations. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I'm sure that we're going to see a massive quality of life increase in some of those countries.
I don't know.
Over the next like.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because countries like Korea, like Asia, for example, you may see a lot of economic growth. China, for example, right?
Yeah.
In China, Korea, Japan. China. Why do we do that every time?
Because it's how Trump says it. It's
China.
He's like the most ridiculous person to watch on
know.
these TikToks. Like I'm kind of slightly obsessed with the fact that this clown is running the US.
I know.
And he's like, China. And you're just like, oh my God, what is wrong with this man?
So there's few things, right? So like in Asia, for example, because Asia went from, a lot of countries in Asia went from like basically being a developing country, very poor, like literally my parents' generation, like basically like very low on the economic, you know, scale, to now one of the biggest economies in the world. But I don't think that necessarily led to, you know, greater happiness or greater, you know, satisfaction. People are actually very depressed, working too hard. They are overworked, all that stuff, because too much competition, too much like grind, and other factors weren't taken into consideration. But I think you're totally right in that like in Western economies, like there was some level of a balance, I think, of like, okay, you work a certain amount, but because there was a lot of room for growth, because we always say like with capitalism, there was that honeymoon period of capitalism where it's like, yeah, like new products are coming out. It's exciting. Now we have better quality of life because we have, you know, computers and we have cell phones and we have all this. But now it's like we have all the things that we could possibly need.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, how else do we make more money?
Exactly.
And now companies are cutting back. They're laying off people. So we're seeing
they don't want to pay as high wages.
Exactly,
they're trying to like,
they got to save that money.
Exactly. Because you're right. Like think about it this way. Even the cell phone market, right? The smartphone market. It's like now literally, if you think about it, like right now in Calgary, I would argue that almost like maybe not every single person, but majority of people in Calgary have a smartphone. Like they have
almost every single person. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, well, where's the growth now for a company? Like if you just think, let's say you're just isolated to Calgary and be like, oh, you're a small producer of cell phones in Calgary. Everyone's got a cell phone. What next? How do you keep growing your company? So it's like we've reached that like weird era. And it's like, again, you're right. We had that honeymoon period where, you know, you could have one parent working and support a family and have raise 2 kids and have a car and do all this stuff on one fucking income. It's like, you can't even do that now unless you're earning a shit ton of money, and there's not that many jobs that pay like that anymore.
Nope.
So
yeah, I mean, I kind of want to see the list, but it is interesting though, because still at the top are the Scandinavian countries.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
But I think a big part of that, Rose, is because even though they're taxed to shit in the Scandinavian countries.
Because they're taxed to shit.
Yeah.
Because they're taxed to shit, and they know how to use the tax money properly to actually take care of their citizens.
Yeah.
That's why they're happy. Like, this is why I'm like so it's like we do need to pay taxes. It's just the government needs to use the taxes accordingly and properly. Sorry, continue.
Well, no, that was going to be my point. And I think another piece too, which I think is more, because Scandinavia, I think is an interesting, and I need to go. I've never been yet, like to any of this.
You've never been to any of the Scandinavian countries.
Not yet.
I say this, and I've only been to Sweden.
Yeah. Oof. I want to go to Sweden. I want to go to Norway. I heard that, the men there, oof.
They're kind of like boring.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. They're like very good looking.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're very like quiet and just, I'm very much generalizing.
But Rose, isn't that something I need in my life? Like I can be the noisy one in the relationship, and
that's
they can
true.
Just be
you won't stop talking. So
exactly.
It's perfect.
It will be perfect. It will be like, I'll just talk for hours and hours, and it's going to be amazing.
Okay, let's literally see this. Finland is number 1, and apparently they've been the number 1 for the 8th consecutive year. Like, what the fuck are the Finnish doing? Okay. Denmark is number 2, Iceland number 3, and Sweden number 4. So literally 4 of the Iceland is Scandinavia, right? Technically, kind of,
yeah.
Kind
and
of, right?
then Norway too. Norway's number 7. So
Norway's number 7. So it's like they are high up there, and I think it's not a coincidence. Like, yes, they tax high, and people are like, oh my god, they pay like 50% tax. Yeah, but that means they have less income inequality, and they have a lot better social programs. So less people live in poverty, less people are, like insecure in their life. Like they're not worried about like, oh my god, if I lose my job, I'm gonna fucking be on the street, like fucking. Exactly,
and I think that there is more income equality in those countries. Yes. I think there's less of this, because obviously you have the extremes in the U.S. of this like capitalistic divide where you have like executives making so much money versus like the lower paid employees.
Yeah.
I think there's less of that. And also I just think like it's a good mix, because I think in the Scandinavian countries you also get that European benefit of like lots of holidays, encouragement to take your holidays. Like some
work-life balance.
Exactly. Whereas like I feel like especially in the U.S. and somewhat in Canada,
and Canada as well, we're very influenced by the U.S. Not always in a good way.
I know, and sometimes like some companies. I remember my dad started this one company, and their vacation policy: you got 2 weeks when you started, after you did a year of work. So for a full year, you got no vacation. You had to earn your 2 weeks vacation.
Oh my god, I know. They're like you have to like work for it. It's like when you work, you earn the vacation every.
That's one thing I really miss about being in the UK. I got 5 weeks at the company I was at to start. Plus, you could choose to elect to buy, I think it was 3 or 4 more days, and they just deducted it out of your paycheck all the time. So I had 28 or 29 days plus all the bank holidays. I feel like it was just such a nice amount of time. Like I think that was like 5 weeks, honestly. Like to be fair, I get 4 weeks now, which is pretty good, but that extra week, I don't know what it is. It just really helps balance stuff throughout the year.
Yeah.
You get, that means, and you don't have to take it all as a week. You could take it as like a Friday off, or, and it I don't know, it creates a better work-life balance, I feel.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think, there's a lot of other factors. It says that World Happiness Report considers factors like GDP per capita, healthy life expectancy, freedom, social support, generosity, and perceptions of corruption when ranking countries. So a lot of different factors here, but...
Interesting that Israel is number 8.
I know, I saw that too. Well, when you are receiving tons of money from the U.S. and protected by a big daddy, then maybe you're just happy.
God damn.
And it's funny because like in Israel, they get like all this money from the U.S. and they get like public health care, versus the U.S. They don't get public health care and they're giving money to Israel.
I wonder if that's going to be something, because I know one of Trump's policies around, he was saying that he wanted to cut all of this foreign aid that the U.S. sends out.
That's such bullshit.
Because there's some place, like I saw TikToks of people, but this is more like
for other countries, not to Israel.
That's what's going to be my question. I wonder if they're going to cut it to Israel.
Of course not. But that's why it's bullshit. It's so hypocritical when he's like, "Oh yeah, we're not going to cut. We're going to cut foreign aid. Yeah, but let me give billions of dollars to fucking Israel." Yeah.
Well, and I saw this really sad TikTok. It was like this lady, or it wasn't TikTok. Maybe it was a post. This lady posted, and she was part of like U.S. aid in like, I don't know, somewhere in a country in Africa, basically, where they do a lot of like humanitarian efforts and stuff. And she's like, literally, the amount of money that the U.S. spends on this particular project or whatever is so insignificant to their budget.
Right.
Like the amount that they're going to save by shutting down this project is like nothing.
This is what I mean. They make such excuses. Like, and the thing is, they talk about it in these grand numbers, right? They're like, oh yeah, we'll save like $40 million. Which sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But then if you actually look at the entire population of the U.S. and how much money that is, compared to the amount of budget they have, it's like, it's so insignificant. and they'll make it seem like, oh my God, this thing is like wasting so much money.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, no, the billions of dollars you're giving to Israel to do wars and attack innocent people, that's actually the waste of money.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's crazy. But I think honestly, I feel like with Canada, I just hope, this momentum continues and we just like boycott US.
Oh, God, I thought you were going to say this momentum continues and then we become less and less happy.
No. I don't want us to become less and less happy.
Oh, it's so sad.
I know it is sad. But I you know what? I see it and I do feel like people are getting more negative. People are getting
so fucking negative.
It's bad. And it doesn't help. Like we said, like companies doing more layoffs and there's not like the job market's not great. We're having a lot of problems here. It's like cost of living crisis. It's, groceries. It's everything all like piling up on everyone.
And I think people are lonely in Canada because I think, again, this is another factor. It's like in North America, everything's so spread apart. And with the rise of social media and just us using technology so much more, we connect less and less with people, which is a huge contributor to your happiness levels. And so we're just like not talking enough to each other. We're not, spending enough time with people. We're just like fucking looking at our phones, being depressed.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy as hell, and that'd be sad as hell, Rose.
I know. Like we have had, this is it's a fall from grace. We were at 5, number 5 in 2015.
Actually, that's crazy.
Yeah, number 5, which is crazy. I think like cost of living is a huge factor.
I think that's probably one of the biggest factors. Yeah, just like the fact because I don't know. It's crazy. It'd be crazy.
Maybe it's like this kind of need to compete with the US because we're, right next to it. So then we kind of develop these maybe unhealthy habits from the American friends. I don't know. It could
be. God damn.
Anyways, continuing on.
But you know what? It is one last point I wanted to say about this. We talked about all of this stuff going on in Canada, the cost of living crisis, all this. But the interesting thing is it's happening in all of the like westernized nations. And that's what's leading to this. You see the UK, you see the US. I didn't see Australia on there, but I'm not sure where they are. But, we're seeing this in a lot of these quote unquote developed. Oh, Australia was 11th.
11th place.
Okay.
So they're higher than us.
Yeah.
Why? Because they got a lot more sunshine.
Mm-hmm. But we're seeing this trend, right? We're seeing this in a lot of the like quote unquote Western countries. So it'll be interesting to see what happened.
Yeah, I do like yeah. It's not good.
No.
It's not good. I wonder where Korea is. 58th.
Wow.
I mean, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
So dropped even more. Yep. Anyways. Yeah. Fun times. All the lovely countries. Just the only Western countries that are surviving up there are the Scandinavian ones, it seems like.
Yeah.
With the great social safety net.
Should we move?
Oh, God damn.
I wouldn't mind living in Sweden.
It sounds like a bit of heaven, to be honest.
I know, a little slice of
slice of heaven.
Or Norway.
Just like people are just, I don't know. And it's like these are cold countries too. So
True.
You can't even blame climate. It's like everything's just
We'd be considered crazy there though.
Us?
Yeah.
Because we're crazy?
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, no, I said we'd be considered crazy because we're really loud and like, everyone would be like, oh God.
I know, people are very quiet there.
Yeah,
the culture is very like, I feel like they're not very, like we're like the opposite personality.
Yeah.
Like they're all very sweet. Like every time I meet someone that's like from Scandinavia, but usually they're very quiet.
Soft spoken,
quite introverted seeming.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like literally insane.
Yeah.
So So I'm like, oh God, I think they think I'm too much. But yeah. And they leave like strollers outside. Have you heard of this? I think it's Sweden or Denmark or something. They will like, people have babies and strollers or whatever, and they'll just like leave their babies like out, like if they are going to eat out at a restaurant or something, they'll just like leave their strollers with the baby inside to nap outside while they go to the restaurant and eat.
That's wild.
I know, but like it works.
Yeah.
That's how much this is another factor, right? Like the kind of concept of safetiness and just feeling safe and feeling like you can leave your baby outside and no one's going to take your fucking baby.
Exactly.
Whereas like, are you kidding me? Like there's no way that would happen in Canada. Are you fucking kidding?
That definitely would not happen.
So who knows?
God
That's why social safety net is super important.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on.
Next story, Rose. Story.
I don't know if you've heard of this. Speaking of late stage capitalist hellscape.
Oh God.
Doordash announced that they've partnered with Klarna. Have you heard of Klarna?
I have heard of Klarna.
So Klarna, I've only heard of it in a sense that I've seen it when I'm like checking out online,
I've seen
something.
Yep, I've seen it as well.
And it's usually like, oh, would you like to split this up into multiple payments over the next 6 months rather than paying for it all now?
Yeah.
So I guess it's a website that helps you or facilitate that while taking 20%. What do you call it? Interest, probably.
Yeah. I don't know how exactly it works. I don't think they take that much. They'll definitely.
They do take interest.
They will, of course. Like they're not gonna not take interest or something, right? I don't really know fully how it works, but I've definitely seen it. Where I've seen it the most, or I've just noticed it, is like I booked an Airbnb recently. I didn't use Klarna, but I just saw that on there because it's like obviously for like larger. I was thinking it's more for larger expenses, but interesting.
So DoorDash has partnered with Klarna to offer customers more ways to pay.
So this I have so much wrong with. I feel like there's so much wrong that is wrong with this.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I feel like what this is doing, and we'll get into it in just a minute, but what it is doing is that going out to eat, it is a privilege, right? It's a it's a nice thing to do sometimes. It's great to like be, and with DoorDash, with Uber Eats, with like Deliveroo, all these like food ordering apps, it's become so easy to order this stuff at your fingertips, right?
Yes.
And it makes it so that it's no longer, because when I was growing up, it was like a special treat. We only went out like once every like week or a couple weeks, we weren't having food delivered to us or going out to eat like 4 or 5 times a week now.
No, that's insane.
But now people are doing it because of these, delivery platforms. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, though, is now with Klarna coming in, it's offering you the ability to finance something. First of all, finance something that, let's be honest, like okay, for family, maybe it's a little bit expensive, but like this is just creating this like, not a good situation where you're financing things that you should be able to pay for. If you're going out to eat, my premise is if you're going out to eat or you're taking your family out to eat, you should be able to afford to do that.
Yeah. If you can't, you probably should not be doing that.
If you can't afford to, and you have to split up your payments on Klarna for a fucking like $50 burger.
Not even 50. Some people will probably do it for $20.
Yeah. Then you don't order. You go to the grocery store.
You got a problem.
You buy some cheap ass pasta, some cheap ass pasta sauce, some frozen veg. Make yourself a fucking meal.
A can of beans for $1.
Exactly. So like there's ways, like obviously like we talk about groceries getting expensive and stuff, but like we're also buying like relatively good stuff. If we really wanted to cheap out, well,
speak for yourself, Daniel. Stop you buying the cheap stuff.
God damn. But this I just have so much wrong with, because what it's doing is it's like those those furniture stores and stuff like that, like don't pay now, buy do equal or interest free for 24 months and you don't have to pay right away. And then what people do though is they like forget about it, or they like, because they're not actually paying for this product.
Exactly.
And then it exacerbates the problem and gets them more into debt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The problem is when they introduce something like this, it seems like, again, it's like this is what capitalism does, right? It creates things that we do not need.
Yeah.
Extra things that we do not need. And it basically hides itself as like, oh, this is a great service. And like, if you want to use it. But it's like, literally, if you have to fucking pay for your Wingstop in 4 installments, you might need to delete the DoorDash app. Okay?
Yes.
Because what the actual fuck, and then we're gonna end up blaming people for getting more and more into debt, which I do blame people a little bit for sure.
Yes.
Because like, why are you fucking paying for your, McDonald's order in 4 installments? Okay. Like if you have to pay for your Big Mac combo and like fucking over the course of 6 months, like we're gonna have a problem. Okay.
Well, and I think that part of it is, it's not just people that are using Klarna for DoorDash. They're probably using it or other stuff for multiple things.
This is what I mean. So they're just it's gonna be probably seamlessly connected to the Klarna app or whatever the fuck. So then you can easily just log into Klarna and just be like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, I'll put it in there. And then before you know it, they've got like $400 on Klarna due, and then they don't have the money to fucking pay for it.
Exactly, and it's just, you're right. It's like
it's predatory.
100% it is, and I feel like the only time, and I've taken advantage, I think once or twice in my life, of those like offers. Like Apple didn't offer one. So my place got broken into, my laptop got stolen.
Right.
And at the time I had to be fair, I had the money in my bank account, but Apple actually did this promo where you could get a new MacBook and you could spread the payments over 12 months, up to 12 months. and you it was interest free. So it would have been the same price as if I bought it on day one. So I was like, instead of taking that massive hit on my savings, I'm just going to like have like £100 or £200 deduction on my pay, which I had the budget for, I had the room for, I knew it was coming. And I actually didn't do the 12 months. I think I did it in 8 because I just wanted to get it over and done with. But like, that's the only time that I think these things can be helpful. Or like, let's say you do want to.
That's because you are a responsible consumer in that way. And you would not do that unless, you know, you have the funds needed.
Exactly.
Right. But most people, it's like people that are using Klarna, and also like, I have a problem with the concept to begin with. It's like, think about it, right? Why does this platform exist? Klarna. Why does it exist? It's definitely not for your benefit.
No.
It's to make money for themselves. So how do they make money?
Well,
because you're going to be paying the interest.
Exactly. And this is a problem too with this. So I've heard about it too. I can't remember who was telling me about like vacations as well. So now you can like book vacations and like pay in installments for like an all-inclusive.
Everything is in installments.
All of this. And I'm like, guys, look, at the end of the day, and this might sound really super fucking harsh, but at the end of the day, let's say you want to go to an all-inclusive in Mexico, for example. If you don't have the money to pay for an all-inclusive in Mexico, instead of doing Klarna, here's what you do. You take whatever that installment would have been, you put it into your savings account until you have enough money to pay for the vacation, and then you go. This is going to cause so many problems, and it's already started. Consumer debt is at the highest it's ever been in our history. Yeah. And it's not getting any better, guys. And so we need to start like, you know, I hate it.
But it's like by design.
I know, 100%.
Like they've made it so that because it's an industry, right? So credit cards don't just exist for the benefit of consumers. It's so that they could make money off the consumers.
100%.
So it's creating a bigger problem than just credit cards, right? So we already have credit card debt, and then now we're gonna have Klarna debt. Yep. Because you gotta have your Doordash, right? You gotta live a little. You gotta get your Doordash.
YOLO. And this is the problem too. It's like
it's the YOLO. Yeah. It's the FOMO, the YOLO, the fucking keeping up with the Joneses.
Well, and I could see someone doing this. Let's say.
Oh, for sure. People are like, oh, who would use this? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
So many people.
So many people would use this.
And the problem is like, let's say, hey, you're between paydays. You got like 4 days until you're gonna get paid. But you want to get your fucking whatever Wingstop is, I guess chicken wings, I'm guessing. So like you want to get your Wingstop. Well, if you don't have the money and it's before payday, fucking don't order it and make do with the groceries you have in your house until you have the money. Like this whole concept of like, basically it's just people living outside their means and buying these things that they don't currently have the money for. And it's just this vicious cycle because the thing with debt as well is it becomes this like, what is it? Like
it's a
snowballing loop, right? Because you think, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just like this few things on DoorDash. And then it's like, oh, actually this Airbnb, we're going to book it through Klarna as well. And there's going to be payments there. And then actually we want to do this and there's going to be payments. And the next thing you know, you have all of these payments or you have a maxed out credit card. The interest is so high. Like let's say you're paying $500-$600 or maybe more a month in interest and you can only afford to put $700 on your credit card. So you're only going to be knocking off like the smallest amount every month. And then you keep charging. It's like it's so bad.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It is bad. So it's actually, taking the debt culture that we have, especially here in North America. Yeah. And exacerbating it and making it way worse because this is another thing. It's like, I can understand to some degree if you're like literally so desperate and you don't have the means and you need to get some food for your family, whatever, but you don't need to get DoorDash.
No.
Okay, you can go to the grocery store.
Exactly. This is where I have a problem with this. It's like if you're, and again, I'm speaking from a place of privilege in many respects, like in terms of like what I'm able to do and all this sort of thing. But at the same time, it is about being responsible and like, I feel like these companies, they are predatory in a sense that like they're giving people options that we don't really need. We don't need this. We don't need any of this. Yeah. It's exactly like this whole concept of like buy now, pay later, this whole culture. It's like these companies want to make more money. So they're offering you to do this so that they can get more customers. It's just terrible.
Yeah. It says deferring payments as a service for food purchase purchases is increasingly widespread and already offered by DoorDash rival Grubhub. So see, and others. This is another like, it's just a way of making more money and competing.
Well, and as well as Walmart shoppers and those who bank at JP Morgan. Like,
It says, but the buy now, pay later service to be launched in the coming months, according to the announcement, comes amid an economic climate that has more Americans reluctant to apply for credit card, mortgage, and car loans, as data published on Monday. So people are already in debt. They're already freaking drowning in debt.
Yep.
And you're like, here's another way of making a few extra dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad.
It's crazy. Like it's just.
But it's like we're in this stage of late capitalism where it's like they got to find more ways of making money.
Well, that's it. And I think there's two trains of thought here, right? There's some onus that the individuals need to take as well, and say, okay, don't get the Doordash. If the main concept of life is, if you can't afford it, don't do it.
But even like the thing is, when I ordered like delivery, which I don't do that often, even though like I could afford it technically.
Yeah.
But like every time I order, I'm like, fuck me, it's expensive.
Oh my God, I know.
Fuck me, it's so expensive.
I heard the other day, I was like talking to someone at work, and they order like Doordash or Uber Eats like 3 times a week or something for them and their family. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Because
for their family too.
Yeah, because like I'll order once in a blue moon, like not once in a blue moon. I probably
maybe like once a week.
Yeah, probably once a week. Once a week, like on a Friday. I don't feel like cooking.
For me, once a week, maybe.
Yeah, for me, I think it's probably once a week, maybe sometimes less. But anyway, like even when I do it that once a week, and then there's some weeks where I'm like, fuck no, I'm not doing it, because that one time just for myself, it's like $45 or $40
it's so
after
expensive.
all the fees, and I'm like, the fuck am I doing here? Like,
because it's more expensive than eating out as
well.
It
is because you have to pay all the extras, surcharges.
You have to pay the tip for the driver, the surcharges, and all of that adds up, and it's like way more expensive.
It's crazy because they've made it, and this is the problem. Again, they disguise it as like what's it called? Convenient for you. It's for you as a consumer, because like think about it, when I was growing up, if we wanted to like order pizza, for example, we'd have the little flyers, we'd have to call the pizza delivery person. It took a bit of effort, right? It took a bit of like, oh, let's look at the menu, let's do this, blah 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 blah. It was like not as easy, whereas now you literally go on your phone, and within, I'm not even kidding you, 5 seconds max, you can order something. Your card is already saved in there for your convenience.
Your previous order already saved
for your convenience. So they made it so that even if you're like on the fence about it, you hit a button like 4 times, order, done.
This is the problem.
They've taken it so you don't even have to re-enter your credit card details.
Yeah.
They've just made it, and this is the whole concept, is remove those barriers.
Yep.
The fact you don't have to call anyone, you don't have to talk to anyone, the menu's right there for you. Everything is so convenient, and like humans are creatures of habit, right? Like if there's barriers for us to do things, there's less of a chance that we're going to do it, or we'll do it less often.
Yes.
Remove those barriers, and it's like, fuck yeah, let's just fucking do it, and that's where it's where am I going with this? There's a psychological element that the companies are appealing to make it easy. So they have to take some onus that they shouldn't be doing that, but they won't. And then there's our side where we're easily falling into this trap of it, but we have to try to like pull ourselves out to say no. Like, again, I think the best policy in life is, if you cannot afford something, like you want to go to Mexico on an all-inclusive, but you can't afford it right now, do not go right now. Go when you can afford it. I
think it's so crazy. Like, I want to get into this. I mean, I don't want to, but I would like to know the psychology of someone that is in a big amount of debt and still continues to dig themselves further by doing things like going on vacations and doing all that. Because I'm like, I would like literally, if I accidentally miss a credit card payment, which even though I know I have the money, sometimes you like forget the date.
I've done this before too. Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Like, God, I gotta pay my interest.
I'm like, fuck me. I missed it. So I'm like, where do you get the confidence to just walk around with all like, and so many people just do it like nonchalantly, like they don't even care. I'm like, I would be so anxious
and stressed
if I carry that debt.
It's wild because I thought about this the other day, and it's interesting because there was this person that came up again on TikTok. Apparently, I'm always on TikTok these days. You and I,
again, this is a fucking
problem.
These phones that are just keeping us in addiction.
I will say, guys, on a side note, while I was in Hawaii, I didn't buy any data or buy any phone plan. So I only had Wi-Fi. So I literally actually spent most of the time off my phone.
That's
it was so nice. I barely went on my phone. The
phone is where all the problems are actually happening.
Well, exactly. Think about it. The fucking Doordash, the fucking Klarna, fucking everything's on your phone.
It's actually so bad. I'm honestly like, it's getting to a point where I'm just like, yeah, I need to go on some kind of retreat where I don't have my phone.
It was really nice, actually. I loved it. But I lost my train of thought. We were talking about credit card payments.
Like anxiety or phone or...
No, I remember it now. So they were like, okay, this guy had like 4 questions. He was like, okay, here's 4 questions you can ask yourself to see how well you're doing financially in your life, right? The first one was, do you have more than $2,000 in your bank account, like saved on the side? Again, this is US figures, so like whatever, take it with a grain of salt.
But Canadians are pretty bad too.
It is everywhere. And he said that the average American had stated or quoted that they did not have that in their bank account. So if something...
So they don't have $2,000, you said? Okay.
So if something hit their bank account, they'd be fucked. So anything more... So a lot of people don't even have $2,000. The other one was like, do you save around 15% or more of your income?
15% or more?
Yeah.
And how many people?
Well, he didn't say how many people, but he said as long... I can't remember the
So you're better than the average.
Yes.
Right.
So as long as you're doing 15% or more, 15% is like the lowest, right?
Which is like very low.
I know. I was like thinking about it. I was like, that seems weird.
Part of it, I think in America, we have to take 2 factors into consideration. One factor is that their federal minimum wage is still like $7 something. So some states, the minimum wage is still like $7 something.
True. Yeah.
And it hasn't changed for like, I think 20, something crazy, like many, many years.
Yeah.
So
there's
some
many
people
factors.
are literally just not making enough money. But
Yes.
then there's the other factor of people making enough money for sure, but they're spending all the money.
Spending recklessly, yeah. So there was that. I think the other one was like, do you have any outstanding debt outside of your mortgage? So like if you don't have any outstanding debt, you're better off than majority of the Americans.
Okay.
Because everyone has like credit card debts. And like I think he said the average was like, I want to say it was something like 21,000 in credit card debt.
Oof.
I can't remember. Maybe it wasn't quite that high. Let me check.
The average credit card debt. I mean, it's pretty bad. Like in Canada as well, it's not a good situation. And I do think it's a very like I don't know how it is in Europe, but I think credit card culture is the worst in North America.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
It is wild to me because I'm like Asian, so like Asian culture is very much like save, don't spend stuff that you don't have. So I'm not saying Asians don't have debt, but it's not as like the culture of credit cards is very like Canadian and American. I feel
and the problem with the industry, so I was a little bit off, guys. It says here, like actually quite a bit off. It says the average credit card debt in the U.S. household, it's still pretty high though.
It's high.
Is around $7,226 per household.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah. And that's the average. So there's going to be people that have 0 and then there's going to be people that have a lot. So
exactly. That's pretty bad.
It is pretty bad.
Credit cards are not good. So the average Canadian credit card balance was $4,680, a 6% increase year over year, and the average credit limit per consumer was 19. I don't know if that makes okay.
Well, that's just like how much limit or how much credit card accessibility people have.
Right. Okay.
So the average person, and again, why?
So we don't know if this is dead, but the credit card balance per consumer was 4,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people in debt.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy, guys. So like I said, the best policy to live by, if you can't, there's nothing wrong with like, if you can't buy it right now, just don't do it. Like just wait and like save. Instead of fucking doing Klarna, set up your own Klarna, which is your own little savings bank account, put money in there. And then it's like, hey, you know what? I can afford to go on this Mexico vacation. I can afford to, order, what was it called? Fucking Wing Pong or Wingstop or whatever it is. I can afford it now because I, set aside that money and that's going to be a treat that I'm going to give myself.
I know.
It's crazy. It would give me so much anxiety to have even my mortgage that I have. I'm always just like, oh my God, I owe the bank so much money.
Okay. But you also have a bit of a,
I'm crazy.
Psychological
problem
with that.
I have some psychological trauma.
From what?
But like, even like, I can't even imagine like having so much, and I feel bad because some people get into these situations and then they do make a plan, they get out, they like live. And sometimes for some people, having a situation with credit cards wakes them up. They end up paying it off and then they like,
but most people are just stuck in that cycle.
Oh, and it's a bad
cycle.
When interest rates are like 22-23%, it is so fucking hard for somebody to get out of that. You have 10 grand in credit card debt at 23% a year of fucking interest. That is a lot of money you're paying in interest.
But then the fact that they can continue to still have credit cards and continue to spend on it, that's the problem with the system, right? It's like clearly somebody has proven that they should not be having credit cards, but they're probably like, credit card companies are like, well, they're our best customer.
Well, and exactly. And another problem too, though, is in North America, like in Canada, US, you want to get a mortgage, you want to get a loan, you want to do any of these things.
Yeah.
You have to have a credit card.
Yeah, you have to build your credit.
Exactly. You have to build your credit score. There's no situation.
That's probably the reason why we have such credit card culture here.
100%, because people are like, well, maybe even if you don't want to get a credit card. I didn't want to get a credit card for a while, but I was forced to because I have to have one to show that I can make payments and whatever. And the crazy thing is, I remember when I first moved back to Canada and I was trying to get a mortgage, and my mortgage broker was like the insane, because I had no debt at the time. And he was like, you have like no loans, no mortgage, no nothing. He's like, you're like on paper a perfect candidate for a mortgage, but you haven't built up because I'd been gone for so long. They're like, your credit history is like not extensive in Canada, because I didn't keep my Canadian credit card when I left. And I was like, so what you're saying is, even though I have the down payment, the job, everything, and no debt, I can't get a mortgage because I don't have a credit card. And he was like, yeah, pretty much. So I had to fucking get a credit card. And then the crazy thing is too, I think I told you.
Well, you should have a credit card because you're not a bad person to have a credit card.
I know, but
we're talking about the system here.
My point is the system.
Yes.
Yeah, my point is for somebody that's in a situation where, like, I'm just using a mortgage as one example, but you have a down payment, you have a good job, you've been paying rent or whatever for the last 20 years or 10 years.
But they force you to get a credit card.
But you have no quote unquote credit. Mm-hmm. So you can't get a mortgage. What the fuck is that? Yeah. Like it's crazy that they force you.
Yeah. It is crazy. I agree.
That's the reality.
God damn. Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. Don't pay for your Big Mac or whatever what's that vegan fast food chain?
Odd Burger.
No, that's Canadian.
Oh,
what's the American one? God damn it.
There's a vegan fast food chain in there?
Yeah, it's called what's it called? Hold on.
Google it, Rose. That's what the power of the laptop is so lovely to have it at our fingertips.
It's why can't I remember? Is it gone? No way. Anyway, there's a vegan fast food chain.
Yep. Comment, LA listeners, guys.
God, what is it? It was a huge one. Maybe they're closed.
God damn.
God, is it closed? No way. It was like a huge one.
Is it Mr. Charlie's?
No. I mean, that's another one. But there was like one that was like the first one.
Oh, okay.
And Veggie Grill? Yeah, I think it's called Veggie Grill.
Okay.
Let me see. Is it still open?
Veggie Grill?
Okay, we're still
fast
going.
Food casual vegan restaurant in California.
So do not pay for your Veggie Grill in 4 installments. Just pay for it now.
Exactly. Like, guys, if you're wondering or questioning, should I get this burger? Will this break my bank account? Reconsider.
Go to the grocery store and buy, like Daniel said, some pasta, some tomato sauce, a can of beans, maybe some veggies if you're feeling fancy.
Exactly.
Okay?
Boom.
There you go. You've got yourself like $1, $2 meal. Okay. Yeah. Like, fuck this shit. Have you not heard of this?
I've heard of this.
Okay, so next story is very sad. So right now, I mean, there was a huge earthquake in Myanmar and also in Thailand.
It like shook
Bangkok.
up. Yeah.
I saw some crazy fucking videos. Have you
like
seen them?
The hotel pools and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God. I saw this footage. I don't know how many people died in Bangkok. But basically, Bangkok is a huge city, right? Yeah. So big high rises and tons of rooftop pools, which we've swam in a few. Yeah. Okay. And there was like a few like infinity pools because it was shaking so much that the water started fucking pouring. And then there was footage of like someone like swimming in the infinity pool, and thankfully they weren't at the edge. They were like kind of, closer to the non-edge, and then it started fucking shaking, and then you could see like the infinity pools still have like a barrier, like a glass barrier that fucking broke because the water broke it, and it was just craziness. But I guess in Myanmar, which is already like a country that's like struggling a bit, I think. Yeah. So it's extra sad. But like basically in Myanmar, the earthquake's death toll is like insanity. So emergency aid has streamed into Southeast Asia in the 2 days since a massive earthquake struck Myanmar and Thailand. So Myanmar has been hit the worst. So the estimated death toll rose to 1,644 by Sunday. And like, honestly, because this is such a big earthquake, it's probably like way larger, that number. So the number of dead from Friday's 7.7 magnitude quake is expected to increase. The number injured was 3,400, while the estimated number of missing rose to 139 on Sunday. So basically, it was in the epicenter was in near Mandalay, Myanmar, the second largest city, and the death toll. In neighboring Thailand, the death toll from the quake rose to 17.
Yeah, so they didn't get hit as bad,
Yeah.
but it's still, and like the footage was crazy.
Probably a little bit. Maybe they have more like infrastructure,
right?
Maybe it's like more built for an earthquake.
And I think a lot of like big sky rises and skyscrapers and stuff, they actually get built with things. I don't even know how they do it. It's like an engineer fucking miracle.
I saw the buildings like swaying.
Yeah,
but then it didn't like.
Because they have a lot of give in them. Like they have a lot of like certain amounts. So they're like not completely earthquake proof, but they can kind of handle a bit of an aftershock kind of thing.
Is it common in Thailand?
Well, I think that whole area, I think that area does get a lot of like kind of earthquakes and stuff.
I found an article. It says why the Myanmar earthquake was so destructive. Oh my God, the building. Look. God damn. Yeah, it's because the buildings.
They're like older.
Are like older and like, oh my God, some of them are like literally like
crumbling.
Look at the temples. Oh my God, the footage is actually so bad. So it's already a poor Southeast Asian country, and it says here.
Well, and it's also because the epicenter of the earthquake was super close to this city, so that's why I'm sure if the epicenter was closer to Bangkok, then they might have had a lot more things happen. But they still had like obviously the aftershock and all that sort of thing. It's crazy. And
yeah, it's really sad. Like the buildings are like crumbling and maybe it could be multiple factors, right? So it could be that, it was just hit harder there. But also I think a lot of the buildings, maybe they just weren't built to withstand an earthquake. Because it is pretty crazy. Like if you look at, the way that it impacted Thailand as well, like, if the buildings were at all like not prepared, it's like it could have been extra disastrous.
Could you imagine if we were swimming in the infinity pool when that happened?
When I saw the footage, I was like, oh my God. Like I would shit my pants and never go into an infinity pool ever again.
I know, especially if the glass breaks and you're like kind of tossed close by. You're like, oh my God.
It scares me.
Oh God.
So yeah, it's really sad. It's like, it says like tons of people have died. Like, I don't know. It's just really, really fucking bad. So yeah, there you go. Earthquakes. There was also a fucking wildfire thing in South Korea.
God damn.
I mean, they can't say the scientists didn't warn us.
I know. Oh my God. I feel like it's just getting worse, guys.
Definitely. It's going to get worse and worse. It's terrifying, actually.
And we're not doing anything to like stop.
Nope, it's just getting worse and worse. We're doing more. We're like, hey, we're in a climate crisis. Let's release AI.
Yeah. Oh, we're in a climate crisis. Let's decide to get people to buy more delivery and fucking partner Klarna with Doordash.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's so bad.
God damn. This be crazy as all hell.
Videos showed rooftop pools in Bangkok spilling over the sides of swaying buildings.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
That's actually insane.
Look at all that water from a rooftop pool.
God damn.
Imagine if you were swimming in that. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, no.
No fucking way.
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, anyways. I had one more story. I don't know if we want to discuss it, though. It's a little bit of internet gossip. A little.
Who be gossiping? Who be gossiping? Roses?
So, there was this one TikToker. So, she's like a pretty famous TikToker, probably has like millions of followers on TikTok and maybe other platforms. So she's an influencer, right? So I guess like she was kind of known. Her name is Remy Bader. Yeah. And she was kind of known to be this like plus size influencer.
Right.
So she was like a bit bigger and she was all about like, being a plus size person and still wearing nice clothes and doing
body positivity.
Body positivity. I don't know how much she talked about body positivity.
Yeah.
But she's kind of known for this, right? And then I guess like suddenly in the last like year or so, she dramatically lost weight.
Right.
So of course, but I guess what happened was like she did not say anything really. So she didn't address the very obvious weight loss.
Yeah.
So people were speculating, right? So obviously the most common speculation would be Ozempic. So people are like, oh my God, are you on Ozempic?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people like just didn't, like, a lot of people were speculating, but she didn't really acknowledge. And then recently she went on like, I guess Khloe Kardashian has a podcast. So she randomly went on Khloe Kardashian's podcast. Hold on, I'm actually gonna, okay, there you go. And she basically like admitted in the podcast that she did this surgery. She did a weight loss surgery in 2023 called what was it called? Where is it? So you can see here, this is her before and this is her after. So she lost like a significant amount of
drastic
weight. So a lot of people were like, oh my God, like, can you talk about your weight loss, blah blah blah. And God, where is it? The thing that she did?
I think it was in the other, if you go back, I think it was in the other article.
What is the thing that she did here?
It's called...
Oh, yeah. So she did this weight loss surgery called Sadie S. And basically, following months of speculation and denying any procedure, she finally revealed it.
See, this is what I hate.
Yes.
I hate when, you know what? I get it. You know what? You're in the limelight. You have a following. You have like fans and all of this sort of thing. Like, just be honest. It's like when all of these people are like getting butt implants and doing all this stuff and they just deny it. They're like, oh, I just did a bunch of squats and my ass grew to the size of a watermelon. It's like, okay, come on. Like, it perpetuates this like unrealistic beauty standard of like, hey, you know what? Just be honest, be like, yeah, you know what? I was worried about my health or whatever it might be, or I wanted to be slimmer. So I underwent this surgery. What's the big fucking deal? Like, it pisses me off when these celebrities or anyone in the limelight does this stuff, like gets lip filler or anything that drastically, and then just fucking denies it and is like, oh, I'm wearing a new lipstick and that's making and it's like, no, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And it's like, just be honest about it. Like, just be truthful. And your fans, I feel like, would respect you more.
Yeah.
If to just be like, what is the big deal? Like, if I went up and said, hey guys, yep, everyone's commenting about my drastic weight gain. I'm going to address it. I went on Ozempic. I did XYZ. This is how I lost this weight. Or I followed a regimented training schedule. I did it's like with, what's his face? What's that? Nikocado. He had his drastic weight loss.
Did we figure out how he did it? Did he do some kind of surgery?
I know. I think he's just like fitness, because it was like over 2 years, right? He said he'd somehow pre-recorded all this content.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that person.
Yeah, but anyway, I digress.
But he also, like, if you're eating like junk food like that as your job, all you have to do is just stop and you'll probably lose like 150 pounds.
But he's doing mukbangs again, I think. So I'm just like, are you not going to gain it all back? Like, what are you doing? This drives me crazy because it's not being honest and truthful to people. And then people see that, and maybe more naive people will think, oh, she just did this, I don't know, some kind of way, when in reality she got a surgery. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. Just be honest.
Yeah, why? I don't understand why it's like, first of all, if you're gonna lie about it, just lie about it to the end. Like, I don't know why you're all of a sudden deciding to expose yourself. Like, if you're gonna lie about it, just fucking lie about it. Like,
commit.
You think people are gonna be happy about the fact that you were basically lying about it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she was like explicitly lying about it or actually denying it. Some people are saying that she was actually denying that she had any sort of surgery. But apparently, like, it's like, the thing is, like, you're an influencer and you're kind of known for being plus size. So when you start to lose like an extreme amount of weight, it says she lost more than 140 pounds in less than a year. That is like, literally, that's more than me. That you are losing an entire person.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a significant amount of weight. So yeah, people are going to wonder, they're going to ask questions. And especially if you are like a big, influencer, even if maybe you didn't ask for it, but like, you are a big influencer and people are following you for whatever the fuck.
But even if you're working in a normal job, like if I came to my office and I had dropped like 70 pounds, well, I would be disgustingly thin, but like people would ask, they'd be like, what did you do? Like, what happened or whatever? But like, I feel like people would ask.
Yeah. But then also you have the thing with like, do you have the responsibility of telling them? Not necessarily.
No.
Like, if you're not really an influencer, it's like your medical decisions and your diet is not really anyone else's business. So like, there is an element of that. Like, I get, like, influencers don't have to tell us everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think there is I don't know. Like if you are losing a shit ton of weight and you are like, I don't know.
I think where there's the responsibility is where, you do have a following of people, especially like young easily influenced people, by not being truthful about like surgeries to some degree about what you're doing. It's creating like more problems for like the younger generation.
Unrealistic expectations.
Exactly, because then they try to live up to this, but they don't think you got a surgery. So then they're like, oh, and like I don't know how. Like I know this is I think it's not necessarily a popular surgery, but it says here that she lost the weight after getting 80% of her stomach removed. So I'm like,
that's a shit ton.
I know.
So like, what's the difference between this and like gastric bypass? I guess it's like similar, right?
I think it's similar. Yeah. I think it's just like basically shrinking the size of your stomach.
Yeah. So
and I'm like,
you can't eat as much.
Exactly.
I still wonder about that because like I wonder how healthy that is.
Well, that's a question. I think for people that are morbidly obese,
it would be healthier to do that.
Yeah, I think it's like that would outweigh. But also, again, I'm like, I feel like our medical industry is just so quick to be like, quick fix.
Right.
Let's remove part of your stomach. Let's do this. It's like, okay, and I get it. The working out and the eating healthy and all this stuff, it does take a lot of work. It takes fucking time. But it's I feel like it's a better way.
Yeah. Instead of a shortcut.
They're quick to, here's some prescription pills for your pain. Here's this. It's like, let's start like talking and addressing some of the issues.
Yeah. So it says here, the confession comes after months of speculation that Remy had either gone under the knife or went back on weight loss drugs to achieve her current slim body. And now basically, so she seemingly steered clear of addressing the rumors until her sit-down interview. And then she like detailed her health journey for the first time. So fans are accusing her of lying or perpetuating unrealistic beauty standards by seemingly hiding her weight loss surgery for 2 years. I guess like what I don't, and apparently many are also alleging that she frequently blocked fans who publicly questioned her on the matter before Wednesday's big reveal. Like I can kind of understand, like as someone that's like somewhat in the public eye, like obviously I don't have as many followers as she does, but like I kind of understand like the pressure of like, oh my God, like do I really need to talk about this? Like it's like, but at the same time, but do I think it's a big deal to be like, yeah, I did something, like it wasn't natural, it wasn't good, but like I did something. Like you don't even have to get into the details, but I think there is like you have to have a balance between like protecting your own privacy, but also like being somewhat responsible, especially if you kind of like became well known as a plus size person.
Exactly.
That's another thing. It's like,
like I feel like where there's less of it is like, maybe I can't even think right now, but like you're right. Like if it's like if I was like a fitness guru and then I like, I don't know, something, it came out that later that I was getting like liposuction and all this other stuff. I feel like I should be truthful about that.
Totally.
Should be like, you know what? It's good to work out. I didn't get this full body from working out. I also had a little help from my doctor. So it's just like being honest and truthful, Anyway.
There you go. So she's getting some backlash. People are not happy. People are not happy about it.
When are people ever happy, Rose?
I mean, apparently Canadians are getting less and less happy.
Yeah, every year, guys, we're going down the scale. Next thing we know, we're going to be next to South Korea.
Oh, God.
God damn.
Oh, God. It's going to be a while before that happens.
And on that positive note, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode, guys. As we mentioned before, if you're not already, check out our subscriptions, patreon.com/SaVeg podcast, as well as YouTube memberships. You get exclusive content. All the content that's posted on there is ad-free, and you get it a week before everyone else. For those of you checking out the public episodes, make sure you hit follow on whatever podcast platform you are listening to our podcast on. That way you get updates as soon as the new episodes go live. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, hit that follow button, subscribe guys. And
we'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.